Yo. Good morning out there, people. It's time for pre-market PulseScan with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger reports that we put right in your hand each and every trading day. Want to say shout out to everybody in the live chat. What up, Fran and Ian? What's up, in Living Color Dude and Kelvin and Mark? And what's up, Looks? Smash that like button for me. Fran, what up, V-Dub? Checking in. Hey, as far as your question, what is a good inverse oil ticker that provides 3x exposure? Once upon a time, we used to have such a thing. I have no idea at this point. They have so decimated the oil market. I don't even know which end is up. But let me just tell you, here's a couple that you may want to take a look at. There's DBO and there's DTO. I believe those are still operating. That's D as in Delta, B as in Bravo, O as in Oscar, or D as in Delta, T as in Tango, O as in Oscar. You can take a look at those off the top of my head. I don't know. What you may want to do too is go to Derickson, I think that's how you say it, Derickson's website, because that is the big 3X ETF company that provides those. And you can get a complete listing of all of their 3X ETFs. And I think I'm saying that right, Derickson or something like that. Just type it in Google, it'll come up. Or just type in 3X ETFs. You'll get a whole bunch of stuff coming up, and you'll get a lot of good tickers if you're looking for 3X. Just remember, when we're talking about 3X ETFs, they are very wild in their volatility and fluctuation. All right, they tend to move exactly like the underlying futures, meaning they tend to overshoot their targets on the top side and the bottom side. And they're prone to wild, ridiculous, mind-bending gaps, whether that's a gap up or a gap down. So trade lightly. They are designed for day trading. They are not designed for holding overnight. Okay? 3X ETFs are designed for day trading. It's really for people who want to trade futures, have the futures exposure without having to open a futures account and trade futures. All right? So that's really who it's for. All right? Just wanted to let you know the pros and cons on that one. All right, so we got a lot to do. We got a busy day, my goodness. Busy day. We got a lot to get into. We have a live training webinar directly after the pre-market PulseScan today. It's for members only. That's right, only for those who subscribe to the PulseWave price trigger reports. We're going to do a live training webinar. We're going to talk about how to manage your open positions again, and we're going to talk about how to leg into your open positions, and we're going to revisit the pop method. We're going to go all about how to do that in the this morning's webinar. All right, let's see what else. I think that's it. All right, let's just jump right into it, because like I said, we got a lot to get into today. We have a plethora of things to talk about, so we just need to get in it. All right, so first things first, overnight markets, here we go. So the Dow is up 177 points at 26,894. The NASDAQ 100 is up 12 points at 11,098 and a quarter. E-mini S&P 500 finally getting to that 3,300 mark. We're at 3314 and 3/4, up 14 and 3/4 points. Russell My Hustle is up 15.9 points at 1529.9. The mighty Bitcoin futures composite index is up 415 bucks, trading at 11,785 after topping out this morning at 11,845. Nat Gas on fire. Up 2 cents right now, trading at $2.22 after topping out this morning at $2.26. Wow, it's been a long time since we've seen that. Crude oil is the little secret sauce this morning. You know, it's been hugging that $40 mark, not doing much. Well, it said, okay, I'm ready. Crude oil is now up $1.70 per gallon, trading at $43.40 per gallon. I do believe, if you listened to the end of day report last night, we talked about that, and the night before, how I said you were right at a crossroads. Either you're going to shoot the 45, or you know what, we're dropping to 35. And the market decided we're going to 45. And that's what it looked like we were going to do, and that's exactly what it just did. So it's letting us know what it wants to do. It's on its way to 45. That's why the end-of-day reports are extremely important, so that you won't miss out on things and goodies that I might throw in there. You just never know. All right, looking at the mighty long end of the yield curve, looking at that long bond, it is now down 29.30 seconds, trading at 181.28. That's 181 and 28.30 seconds. Gold, gold, gold. There is gold, and then there hills. Gold is up $32 this morning, trading at $2,053 an ounce after topping out at $2,060.20 per ounce this morning. But that is not the whole story. Silver pulled a double whammy. I missed my opportunity to get back in, kicking myself. Hey, but I'm still long that gold though. Looking at silver, silver is up $1.06. Make that $1.07. $1.07 higher, trading at drumroll $27.09 an ounce after topping out this morning at $27.19 per ounce. I don't know how you do it without these pulse waves, people. I don't know how you do it. It can't be done. You got to have the pulse waves, man. There's something about them pulse waves. All right. So now we got the US dollar index getting absolutely smoked, down 63 pips, trading at 92.74. You heard it right. Trading at 92.74 near the lows of the session. We're in that 92 handle, ladies and gentlemen, deep in the 92 handle now. On the back of that, we got the euro dollar up 95 pips. It is on fire at 118.87. We got the pound sterling on fire, up 79 pips at 130.138. We got the Aussie up 73 pips at 72.29. And we got the Canadian dollar going the opposite direction, down 66 pips at 132.54. The euro yen is up 60 pips at 125.38. And the dollar yen down 16 pips at 105.56. It's the quiet one in the room right now. We got the Kiwi. It is up 31 pips at 66.54. Looking at food. Soybeans up a point at 8.82 3/4. Corn up a point at 3.21 1/4. And wheat is gaining the most, up 3 1/4 points at 5.11 1/2. And that is your overnight markets. That's a lot of firepower going on in the overnight. That's why it pays when you get your reports in the evening. You go ahead and you place them tickets. You got to place them tickets. Yeah, I see you, Frank, saying it's going to be a long winter. Hey, man, I can't call it. All I know is August, like I said, is the month that sets up everything. And right now it's setting that up. It's making you think that. But look, they don't call nat gas the widowmaker market for nothing. You gotta keep your eyes and ears open on that. When it comes to futures, period, you gotta monitor them things. You can't just place the trade and then just walk away. You gotta monitor it because them things can turn on you Like last night, for no reason, right in the middle of doing the end of day report, silver said, "Oh, by the way, I'm tired." It pulled a Forrest Gump on us right on the middle of the bridge, overlooking the Grand Canyon. And said, "You know what? I'm tired. I'm gonna go the other way." And that's exactly what silver did. It dropped a buck on us, pulled back a buck. It was falling like a rock. I said, "I need to protect my profits. I gotta move my stop," and that's what I did. I did what I had to do. All right, so that's just the nature of the beast. And the good thing is though, the gold didn't panic like that. So I just kept the gold going, and I woke up this morning very surprised and happy to see that at least the gold is paying and doing what it's supposed to be doing, and I'm loving life. I see you, Tom. You know what, man? Thanks. He says you took profit on 2 forex trades overnight. That's what I'm talking about. You know, when you take profit in these markets, what you're saying is you have extracted currency. You have extracted money from the markets, from the rigged, over-managed, interventionist markets. The same markets that everybody complains about, saying the Fed this, the FOMC that, fraud this, fraud that, rigged, fixed, dumb speculators, whatever you want to call it, fictitious market, casino, paper market, all these derogatory terms. None of that matters. The only thing we care about is that what the market pays us, that we extract money from these markets on a consistent basis. That's what we do over here. We make no excuses. All right. When you lose a trade, you don't blame the market. When you lose a trade, it's a cost of doing business. All right. I like how my man Oscar put it. He said, when you have a bad day in the market, you take a losing trade. He calls it a donation day. I like that term. I like that terminology. A donation day. It's a cost of doing business, man, because you don't complain and cry when you're making money. So why would you complain and cry if you have a bad trade, right? You just get ready to take the next one. So that's what I'm talking about, man. Look, the government has been taking from you since birth. Doesn't it feel good to do a little bit of taking of your own, and it's legal? You know the saying, the best way to legally rob a bank is to own one. Well, I beg to differ. I would say the only legally way and the best way to extract money from the financial markets is by trading with the PulseWave price triggers, dog. There you go. All right, let's look at these overnight news that may be moving some of these markets. All right, so we got gold hitting another record high. We just talked about that. All right, the price of the precious metal climbed as high as $2,060.20 an ounce. And that's being driven higher. Continued fears over the dollar that is going into the toilet. And according to some analysts, a huge explosion which hit Beirut, Lebanon. I know some of you saw that in the news this morning that there was a huge explosion in Beirut in Lebanon. Some kind of chemical building, a building that had some type of hydrochloride or some kind of chemicals and stuff they were storing in there for a long time, and it just went up. Don't know what sparked it. Don't know if it was on purpose or just the volatility of chemicals. Who knows? All right, young investors are flooding into Bitcoin into the pandemic, while the older generation can't get enough of gold. A team of JP Morgan analysts said. Funny how they're quoting JP Morgan talking about gold. Yeah, after they were exposed in a court of law for manipulating the precious metal market, they still exist. They weren't banned from the markets or anything. They just said, okay, slap them on the wrist, let's extort money from you, and then you can go ahead and keep doing what you're doing. That's what the government decided to do with JP Morgan. Retail investors are split down the middle by generation over their favorite alternative assets, according to a note from JP Morgan this week. First of all, I beg to differ. How can you say that Bitcoin is a new generational thing? All right, and say, because when they talk like that, they're really talking about like 20 somethings and stuff like that. First of all, that doesn't make any sense. sense because it was the older generation that created the Bitcoin in the first place when the 20-year-olds were still in elementary school. So how can you put that there like that? Making it seem like this is something that just came out and older people don't understand it and don't know nothing about it when we're the ones that were doing this. I mean, have you forgotten my man Da Vinci here on YouTube, who was the Lone Ranger, the voice in the wilderness crying out, telling people about Bitcoin back in 2010 and 2011? Huh? What? That's why you got to pick apart these, the words they like to use and the way they like to spin stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. All right, Warren Buffett plows another $337 million into Bank of America, boosting his stake to nearly 12%. Warren Buffett continued his Bank of America buying spree this week, spending more than $300 million on the banking's Titan shares between July 31st and August the 4th, Securities and Exchange Commission filings show. All right, you guys, again, I think we all know what this is. I explained it before. I'll explain it again. That is just a bailout on the low. All right. Don't forget, Warren Buffett is also an agent of the Fed. All right. That was revealed. His relationship with the Fed goes all the way back to 2008 when he bailed out Goldman Sachs. Don't forget that. This is not new. This is how Warren gets down. All right, he is too an agent of the Fed. All right, I'm seeing in the live chat they're saying that there's something affecting the channel and that it keeps cutting out. Oh, okay, all right. So I'm being persecuted a little bit. It seems like it don't. I'm not shocked by it. You know, them taking bandwidth away from me and giving it to the dude with the hand puppets. Because you know that's considered more entertaining than giving you facts. You know, that's just what it is. All right. Disney stock jumped after Disney Plus hit 60 million subscribers. By the way, the opening bell just rang for those of you that need to handle some business and put those stops in. If you do not put your stops in right now, don't talk to me. I don't want to hear you. Because the NASDAQ just went negative on you just now. Why are you letting the NASDAQ go negative on you? Protect your profits, fam. All right, come on. Stop playing around. Don't play with these markets, man. Protect your profit. Don't think the markets is going to keep going up forever or just straight down forever. Protect them profits, man. The NASDAQ is tanking on you right now. And you all know you long them QQQs and all of that. Do something. Put them stops in, man. Stop playing yourself. All right. So Disney hit 60 million subscribers. That is really not a big feat. It would be a big feat if breaking news came out and me and Frank are telling you, hey, we just hit 60 million subscribers. Now that would be supernatural. But for Disney to hit 60 million, they already had that. Disney has that following. Every person in the world loves Disney films and the Disney Channel and all their cartoons. So it's not like no one don't know who Disney is. It's a household name. All right. So them having 60 million subscribers is not far-fetched. I don't see the big deal. But Disney stock climbed as much as 6.4% in pre-market trading on Wednesday as investors cheered strong growth at Disney Plus last quarter and shrugged off the brutal impact of the coronavirus pandemic on other parts of its business. Jim Cramer says a wave of clueless buyers is helping to fuel the stock market's stupidly bullish sentiment right now. Cramer cited the example of BP, which saw shares surge on Tuesday despite reporting catastrophic earnings and cutting its dividend. First of all, let me just say this. I enjoy listening to Jim Cramer. I've been listening to him for years now. Now, let me explain. Now, I know people listen to him and they claim they've lost a lot of money in the market listening to him and how he flip-flops. You don't understand Jim Cramer and what his role is. So let me break it down for you. Jim Cramer is entertainment for market heads, people who love the markets like us, who enjoy trading these markets. He is an entertaining end of day relief from a very stressful day. Sometimes trading can be stressful, and it can even be boring at times. So Jim Cramer fills that void. He's not talking to you about hand puppets and clowns. He's talking to you about markets and individual stocks and sectors in the economy and stocks. And believe it or not, a lot of the fundamental analysis that he gives you is spot on. So you have to understand what you're watching when you listen to him and understand what his role is. He's not a trader. He's not going to tell you buy here, sell there, put your stop there, and be consistently profitable doing so. That's not what he does. Even if he wanted to do it, he can't by law. All right, he can't. And if you run a fund, you have your hands are tied behind your back. You can talk and give technical analysis and stuff like that, but you cannot give specifics. You want to know why? Because past performance is not indicative of future results. I don't care how amazing my PulseWave price triggers are. I don't care if I've never lost a trade in my life and I've done 10,000 trades in a row profitably without ever losing. I still can't come on the air in public and say I never lose. Did you know that? Used by law, you still can't do that, because the one day that you lose and someone followed you and loses money, you are now liable financially, triple damages, because you said you never lose and they quoted you saying you never lose. And if you trade with me, you will never lose. And then they lose. Oh, you're not going to just pay them what they lost, but you're going to face what is called triple damages. That's why I don't care how good the analyst, how good the trader, whatever, fill in the blank, you can never say that you don't lose or that my methodology is flawless. You can't even allude to anything like that. You have to disclose and say past performance is not indicative of future results. So has Jim Cramer gotten it wrong a million times? Yeah. Because it's just analysis. He's just talking to you about markets, telling you about the companies and product lines. It's just information. It's just fundamental analysis. It's really not technical, and that's not what he's there for. He's there just to talk markets, just talk shop, and entertain you with it, with his personality. Buy, 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 sell, 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 sell. They know nothing. Which is my favorite one. They know nothing. Love it. Love it to death. I think he is great, and he has filled a void for many years. When people run into problems, it's because they're listening to him like he's gonna help them to make money, and they're gonna get rich. And that's wrong. That's not what he's there for. I'm not defending him in any way. I'm just explaining to you how you can derive some value if you do watch him and come away with it and not get smoked in these markets. Okay? So yes, that is what he is there for. And I do enjoy listening to him. You don't have to like it. You do what you do. I do what I do. But I just have, me, and on this channel, we break things down so that people can have a clear understanding of what's going on. Because a lot of people will look at stuff like that, but yeah, but he said that Kraft had this amazing cheese and that it should help the stock. And instead, the stock is down 50% just from yesterday. Well, hey, he's just talking shop. If you place your investment decisions based on someone on TV, that's on you. That's on you. If those who've been with me the longest on this channel, you've heard me say that I can only recall one time where if you watched a business channel, you would have made money immediately at that moment if you moved on it. And that was on the Bloomberg channel where they were interviewing people in the trading pit like 5 minutes before the closing bell during the financial crisis. And it was a sea of floor traders with like 5 million or 5 billion, I forget what was a million or $1 billion of orders and tickets that had to be filled market on close. The Dow closed at a certain price, and like 30 minutes later, after the close, the Dow changed its price to down like 700-800 points. Had you paid attention, you could have shorted that Dow futures at that moment, and you would have got broke off. That is the only time. The only time. All right. So it's just one of those things. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm looking. Wait a minute. What is going on? Okay, people saying they're still cutting out on the channel. Yeah, man, we do need a podcast. We've been talking about it. Oh, snap. My man, wait, no, don't say it. Say it ain't so. Let me see this. Okay, I think your channel is being blocked in Australia, Dex. Can't get more than 20 seconds, multiple computers, and only your stream. What? Okay, another person said, okay, you're in Australia and it's fine for you. So that's weird, man. Maybe it's browser specific. I don't know. Try different. I know. Here's what I found out. Sometimes the other browsers don't play and don't work well. I found that Google Chrome plays YouTube videos almost flawlessly. But in order for me to bring you the live, I have to use Firefox because Google was crashing every time I tried to do a video. Y'all remember that? I was using Google Chrome, so I had to switch to Firefox just to do these lives, which is interesting. Yes, I don't know. Maybe they're doing something with the bandwidth. I don't know, man. Who knows? You said Brave browser plays YouTube without ads for the most part. Yeah. You could try some ad block, like what is it? What is it called? Ad block Pro Plus or something like that. All right. My man Kyle says he's using Brave and it works best so far. Okay, there it is, folks. Try the Brave browser if you're having some problems hearing. It's very very telling though. I'm not shocked, I'm not surprised. I will never forget that one time that me and the late great Charlie McGrath we was doing our live radio show together, and right in the middle when we were talking, somebody had brought up the Illuminati or something. Something had to do with something with the markets and something like that. And right in the middle of us saying it, not only did the broadcast cut off, but everything shut off. I will never forget that. Those of you who remember that broadcast, yeah, that was crazy. That was up there with the with Coast to Coast AM when the dude was supposedly calling in from Area 51, and not only did the feed drop, but all the power and everything in the station went out. Y'all remember that? That was crazy, man. Crazy. So yeah, I mean, hey, we know the government listens to us. They watch our broadcast. We know that. They're our #1 subscriber. Come on, All right, Morgan Stanley, the government recession response has the stock market heading for a massive upheaval. That's what they say. Inflation has been and continues to be perhaps surprisingly largely left off the list of investor concerns since the U.S. government rushed to provide economic stimulus following the COVID-19 outbreak. Let me explain something to you right here. Do you know the perma bears have always been around? And every time there's a bull market, the perma bears are out there saying, be careful, this thing is about to collapse. The market's going to fall on your head. The sky is falling, and so is your portfolio. And they say that as long as the bull market lasts. And then as soon as the bull market is done, it tops out and is ready to correct. They say, see, I told you so. Let me explain something to y'all about the perma bears. The perma bears have no money. The perma bears lost all their money during the bull market. They kept shorting the bulls, kept getting stopped out until they had no more money. So when the bear market does show up, they still can't make any money off of that because they lost all their trading capital. So understand that perma bulls and perma bears have their little day in the sun, but they always get stopped out and they have no money. The perma bull then got stopped out. because he kept buying in the bear market and got wasted. The perma bull is gone because he kept buying. He kept buying Enron even when it went to zero. He held on. He's a perma bull. He got smoked. The perma bear keeps shorting the NASDAQ and keeps getting smoked. Perma bears and perma bulls don't live very long in these markets. You got to take that one-way thinking and throw it out of the window and trade what the market gives you. Do you have to understand what's going on? No. Do you have to agree with what's going on? No. That's not what you're here. You're not here to judge the market. You're here to trade it and extract money from it if you can. If you can. All right, 100 deals and $1 million in profit a year. Here's how Mike Simmons made a simple change to his real estate investing strategy that took him from small-time house flipper to full-fledged mogul. That may be true. That's why he's selling you some things right now, because the housing market has imploded, and the only way he can make money now is by selling books on how to do it so that you can be the one that he's selling his real estate to as he's unloading. Understand, people talk their book. All right. Even without it, there is a bias when it comes to the world of finance, economics, and investing. People talk their book. Whether you are conscious that you're doing it or not, you're going to talk your book. If you're holding $1 billion in real estate and prices are going high, every time you're interviewed or every time you hit a microphone, you're going to be talking how great the real estate market is and how you can teach others to do it. It's so amazing. But same thing on the Wall Street side. If you are long a market that is going up, 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 you're going to talk that book. You're going to stick your chest out. You're going to feel good about yourself. Every time someone interviews you or you get on the mic, you're going to talk what you are long. Yeah, I'm long that Bitcoin. I've been long like Da Vinci since it was 11 cents. And I bought 10 million coins, and now it's sitting here at over 11,000. Yeah, I'm just loving life right now. Of course, that's how you're going to be. Or if you long this gold and silver market this morning, like those at PulseWave trading, then you're like, I'm feeling good. The sun is shining. It could be raining where you live, and you can be like, I just feel really good today. It's a great day outside because things are going well. So people talk their book. Don't ever get it twisted. We all do it. Duh. Especially if you're in a trade, right? And it may not be going as expected. You're going to talk about it because you're hoping that if the trading community can all come together with one mind and wishful thinking, that it may work out for you. Look, you don't have to like it. You don't even have to understand it, but it's facts. It is what it is. Like right now, I'm hoping gold goes to 3,000 today. Why? Because I'm long gold. Yeah, I'm not going to talk bad about it. You don't want to jinx yourself, right? All right, so let's keep it going. Now, earnings are coming in. Alliance and Roku second quarter earnings are expected for those of you that are inclined to do so and be in tune to that. On the economic front, we got the U.S. EIA crude oil stocks change and the U.S. Market Services PMI are due. All right, so that's the overnight news for the markets. All right, so now we need to talk about this unemployment that came out. The ADP employment was a huge miss. Just 167,000 jobs added, which was below the 1.2 million jobs added expected. But June revised massively higher. Welcome to the ping pong, tic-tac-toe, hopscotch board of the ADP employment. The employment game. All right, so we know there was very bad news, offset by modestly good news in today's ADP private payrolls report. The bad news is that after June's 2.369 month-over-month jump in private payrolls, consensus expected another solid, if somewhat weaker print at around 1.2 million. But alas, the actual number was far worse, with just 167,000 jobs added in July, barely in the green, and a clear sign that the V-shaped recovery from May and June is now over. You know how I love to say it. Come on, say it with me. The age of man is over. Now is the age of the orc. So that's what happened. We're now in the age of the orc. All right, the age of man is over. The V-shaped recovery that they were hoping for is over. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that the June print was revised by nearly 2 million higher, from the 2.369 million to 4.314 million, making June the strongest month in history. Unfortunately, what the market cares about, or used to be, are inflection points. You always hear me talk about inflection points, the intraday price inflection points. And in July, the economy clearly slowed down. And the following table shows some 166,000 service jobs added, and only 1,000 good producing jobs were created last month, as the manufacturing recession appears to be coming back with a bang. All right, so there you go with the ADP roller coaster merry-go-round. Now, that said, none of this may matter because, as Trump previewed Friday's NFP print in a Fox News interview, we'll have another big jobs number on Friday, and reiterated his view of V-shaped recovery, says the country is in good shape, set to rock and roll, but Democrats don't want to open schools. All right, you guys, this is your time. I'm going to give you a moment to go and get a cup of coffee, get some tea, and you need to get ready because we got to roll up our sleeves and we got to talk some talk this morning. We need to look at a few things and see what's really good. We got to see what's really good, what's really going on in the world that we are living in, because we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. We got some things to talk about. So let's take 2 minutes, and I don't have any music, so you'll hear silence for about 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. All right, I am back. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so hopefully you guys got your coffee and all that jazz and you're ready to do this. Looks like gold is hitting a new intraday high. I love it. I love it. Life is good. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, man, I'm trying to when you I got a lot going on here in the background too. Just understand that I do have um I do have a wife and I do have a few special needs children. So yeah, I got a lot going on over here. So that's why sometimes I have to take these breaks. All right, so coffee's hot, sleeves are rolled up. Let's do it, Johnny. All right, first and foremost, let's look at a little less known indicator. For those of you who've been with me for a minute, we always look at different market indicators. One of the famous ones, of course, is yours truly, the Illuminati Index. But there's another one that's not talked about as widely, and that's the Champagne Index, okay? And if you take a look at champagne sales, they're worse than they were in the Great Depression right now. Champagne sales fizzled out during the during lockdowns as restaurants were closed and weddings were canceled and international travel halted. And as according to the AP News, the world's top producers based in France, Eastern region, are now warning they've lost an estimated $2 billion in sales this year. They say turnover has fallen by a third with some of the worst selling conditions since the Great Depression. The industry expects 100 million bottles will be unsold this year as a virus-induced downturn has severely damaged the winemakers. They say they're experiencing a crisis that they evaluate to be even worse than the Great Depression of 1929, said one of these French names that I cannot pronounce, of the Champagne Committee, the CIVC, who represents 16,000 winemakers. CIVC will announce to members at an upcoming meeting on August the 18th that harvests will be capped this year to avoid overproduction that will ultimately result in bottle price declines. The AP said small winemakers are alarmed by CIVC's caps because they are more susceptible to output declines than larger wineries. Quote, we are to destroy the gaps and we pay for them to be destroyed, referring to the industry as a whole. It's nothing but a catastrophe. Champagne has never lived through anything like this before, even in the world wars. We had never experienced a sudden one-third fall in sales, over 100 million bottles unsold. There you have it, people. This is hilarious. Oh, really? Wow. Wow. So now they have a new algorithm that can cut you out live? Wow. I didn't know that. Okay, so let's move on, man, because that is crazy. That's crazy. All right. Another thing that's been thrown around because we're getting close on it is how billionaires are controlling the American elections. Now, the great investigative journalist Glenn Greenwald gave an hour-long lecture on how America's billionaires control the U.S. government. And here is an edited summary of the opening 20 minutes with key quotations and assertions from its opening, and then its broader context being discussed briefly. Now, quote, how Congress maintains endless war, system update with Glenn Greenwald. This is from The Intercept on July the 9th of 2020. All right, at minute 245, he says, there is this huge cleavage between how members of Congress present themselves, their imagery and rhetoric and branding, what they present to the voters on the one hand, and the reality of what they do in the bowels of Congress and the underbelly of congressional proceedings on the other hand. Most of the constituents back in their home districts have no idea what it is that the people they voted for have been doing. And this gap between belief and reality is enormous. Now, for crucial military budget amendments were debated in the House just now as follows. Number one, to block Trump from withdrawing troops from Afghanistan. Two, to block Trump from withdrawing 10,000 troops from Germany. Three, to limit U.S. assistance to the Saudis' bombing of Yemen. And four, to require Trump to explain why he wants to withdraw from the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty. Now, notice how all of this is about the military-industrial complex pushing back on the Trump administration. All right, those in power tend to want to hold on to it forever. Now, on all four issues, the pro-imperialist position prevailed in nearly unanimous votes, overwhelming in both parties. Dick Cheney's daughter, Republican Liz Cheney, dominated the debates through the House of Representatives, is now led by Democrats and not Republicans. Interesting. So, Dick Cheney's daughter dominated the debates, even though the House of Representatives is led by Democrats and not Republicans, and she's a Republican. Greenwald cited other investigators' documents that the U.S. news media are in the business of deceiving the voters to believe that there are fundamental differences between the parties. The extent to which they clash is wildly exaggerated by the press in order to pump up the percentages of Americans who vote so as to maintain both domestically and internationally. The lie that America is a democracy actually represents the interest of the voters. 16 minutes in. The chairman of the House of Armed Services Committee, which writes the nearly $750 billion annual Pentagon budget, is the veteran 23-year House Democrat Adam Smith of Bowings, Washington State. No conflict of interest there, not at all, not at all. The majority of his district are people of color. He's clearly a pro-war hawk, a consistent neoconservative, voted to invade Iraq, and all the rest. This is whom Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats have chosen to head the House Armed Services Committee, someone with this record. He is the single most influential member of Congress when it comes to shaping military spending. In other words, he is the mouthpiece for the military-industrial complex. That is his bankroll. That's who's paying him. That's whose pockets he's in. All right, he's their guy. They own him. He was primaried by a progressive Democrat, and the defense industry opened up their coffers and enabled Adam Smith to defeat the challenger. That's the opening, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the opening. Got deep, and that's just the opening. Isn't that crazy? All right, here we go. Greenwald went on after that to discuss other key appointees by Nancy Pelosi who are almost as important as Adam Smith is in shaping the government's military budget. They're all corrupt. And then he went at further length to describe the methods of deceiving the voters, such as how these very same Democrats who are actually agents of the billionaires who own the defense contractors and the news media, etc., campaign for Democrats voters by emphasizing how evil the Republican Party is. Again, corruption, all right, conflict of interest, all right. What you're really seeing is for every person that is in elected office, one of the industrial complexes put them there, whether it be the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, on and on and on and on and on. Whatever special interest group wants to put a man or a woman in office. That's who is the banking sector, whatever. All right. Central bank, whatever. So each candidate represents a special interest group, oil industry, you name it. Isn't that interesting? Just knowing that. Now, the issues that Democratic Party voters care far more about than they do about America's destruction of Iraq and Syria and Libya and Honduras and Ukraine, and imposing crushing economic blockades and sanctions against the residents of Iran, Venezuela, and many other lands. Okay, now stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. Imposing crushing economic blockades. Did I not expose that to you when they were first telling you about the economic collapse in Venezuela and Argentina? Remember, they wanted to make you think that it was because the president embezzled all the money and bought, 1,000 pairs of the new Jordans, and that's where all the money went. When the truth of the matter is they went into starvation and no food because the U.S. imposed crushing economic blockades against them, meaning that they turned off the machines. That's right. When they log into their accounts that are digital and controlled by the central bank, they turned it off so that way they couldn't pay their bills, couldn't pay their people, couldn't pay anything. And and by the way, you still have to give us that oil every month. Yeah, that's what the U.S. does. They impoverish nations because they control the banking system. They impose and make everyone operate on this electronic system, and then when you get out of line or do something they don't like, they switch yours off so that you can't run your country. Don't you ever forget what I just said, okay? This is what this is. But are satisfied to vote for senators and representatives who actually represent defense contractors and other profoundly corrupt corporations. Instead of represent their own voters, this is how the most corrupt people in politics become reelected time and again by deceived voters. And as those nearly unanimous committee votes display, almost every member of the U.S. Congress is profoundly corrupt. Exactly, because you know what? They're all bought and paid for. How do you think they even get elected, people? This is what this is. This is being exposed once and for all, as it should be, because it is what it is. It's just a game. They want you to think a certain way, but it's all a matter of deception. That's all. All right, because they're trying to shape. Remember, it's called social engineering for a reason. Because they're trying to control. That's why. Now, here's another thing too. Remember, at the end of the day, they do not care about you. They do what they do. So now you got UBS billionaire clients dumping stocks as a top could be nearing. UBS head of global family offices told Reuters the surge in equities from March to May netted significant returns for its wealthiest clients. Now they're disposing of equities by locking in gains and moving money into illiquid and private assets. We had record loans written during the middle of March and the middle of April of significant family offices who asked us for balance sheet and then went into the market, Joseph Stadler said. They brought, for example, U.S. equities, but they didn't buy $50 million. They bought $1 billion plus of those equities to rebalance, and they made a lot of money. Buying the dip in the tune of billions of dollars led family offices to outperform hedge funds and hit their target benchmarks through May, according to the bank's latest survey of family offices. UBS is known as Fortress Bank for Billionaires because it caters to the world's wealthiest folks. The bank's survey of family offices, 121 in total, each has an average AUM of $1.6 billion. Sadler said the rapid rise in equities would likely soften throughout the rest of the year. For more color on why equities could slump in the second half, we recently noted the Federal Reserve balance sheet is contracting. Real-time indicators show the recovery has stalled and valuations are stretched. The Fed's balance sheet increased from $3 trillion to $7.2 trillion during the pandemic. At the same time, the S&P 500 soared as the balance sheet expanded. However, in recent weeks, the balance sheet has contracted, resulting in S&P 500 having trouble sustaining the 3,200 level, despite the barrage of virus vaccine headlines, all right, which was true, all right, back in the middle of July. So, again, if you were to go by what the wirehouses, investment houses put out to the public, you would be losing, because now they say they were taking profit back then, but yet the market is on a tear to the upside now. The S&P 500, since the writing of this particular article, is up 121 and 3/4 points. That's right, up an additional 121 points from that 3,200 level. That's why you cannot trust anything they say. All right, you just can't. You can't. And I reported on this a long time ago, a very long time ago, very, very long time ago, that the new rules don't make sense to the old economy. Because the old way of doing things were on the actual paper market. It didn't really make sense what was happening now. Okay. But it's making sense all of a sudden because the new way of doing things is totally foreign to the old school way of doing things. So it's like economics don't even matter anymore. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we're in a new financial paradigm now. All electronic. Everything's electronic. We've never been in a place like that before. But we are here now. Now, this is what happens when you have a public deceived so completely as we have now. Check this out. Woman throws coffee. A woman throws coffee in a man's face because he's not wearing a mask, and she's offended. And by doing so, she gets her boyfriend beat up. So a couple walking down the street, a dude coming up on them. He's not wearing a mask. She accosts him, gets in his face about not wearing a mask. He's like, "Woman, back up off me." She then throws the coffee in the man's face. So rather than hit a woman, he beat down the boyfriend. In other words, yo, control your woman. Oh, you gonna throw coffee in my face? Pow! So a woman in Manhattan Beach has been caught on video after throwing a hot cup of coffee in a man's face after he refused to put on a mask when she demanded that he do so. California's new social distancing requirements order people to wear masks in public even when they're outside, especially if they're within 6 feet of another person. When accosted by the woman, the two men said they didn't believe in masks and refused when she demanded that they put one on. According to a report by Fox 11, James Hernandez and his friend Matthew Roy were eating burritos outside while out in public in Manhattan Beach without masks on. They said they had just sat down to eat when a woman who was walking with her well-dressed boyfriend stopped and demanded that they put their mask on. Who are you to demand another adult to do something? Hernandez caught everything that happened next on camera. He wears a body cam, he says, because he is frequently accosted for being a Trump supporter and having the stones to wear his "Make America Great Again" hat in public. Here's more from Fox 11. Y'all need to be wearing masks, the woman can be heard saying. No, we don't, Hernandez replies. We're locals here, but we're on the other side of the fence. We don't believe in this stuff. I hadn't even gotten to start eating the burrito yet before someone wanted to give me a mask lecture, Roy said. I guess the guy really wanted to impress his girlfriend because I was pretty dismissive. I thought when I turned my back on them, they would just move on, but he wanted to stand there and engage me. Roy says the woman then stuck her middle finger in his face, and tensions escalated further until she threw her coffee in his face. Roy immediately gets up and begins punching the woman's boyfriend in response. She decided to slam her coffee into my head, and that's when I decided to get up and beat up her boyfriend, Roy said. I got a few licks in, and I have brothers at home, and as soon as the gentleman or the gentler man said stop, I did. I backed off. The bloodied man called the police and reported he'd been assaulted. The man called the police to report that he had been assaulted, a total alpha move. But after a brief investigation, neither the man nor Hernandez nor the woman were arrested. The couple in the video haven't been identified. That's what you get. Who are you? You are not nobody's mama or daddy. You cannot tell another adult what to do. And furthermore, you do not have the authority to physically make someone do something. See, this is that brainwashed mentality that people have, that they think because they have an opinion or a belief that they can physically impose that belief on everyone else. Dude said, I don't believe in what you believe, but you're welcome to go on doing what you do. Have a nice day. Leave me alone. That wasn't good enough. Then the couple wanted to get up in the man's face. And then when he still refused, that's when she decided that she was going to go upside his head with a hot cup of coffee. That's assault. What the man did was self-defense. He felt threatened. Isn't that messed up? That is nonsense, man. But you know what? They got what they deserved. Let that be a lesson to anyone out there who thinks that they have a right to force their opinions and beliefs on other people. You do not have that right to do that. All right? This is what happens. You think you tough? You think you hard? You think you thorough? You ain't thorough. Her boyfriend got beat up in the process, so she is responsible for her boyfriend getting beat up. And instead of the boyfriend manning up and stepping up and saying, look, babe, what you did was wrong, and apologizing for his woman and talking down the situation, he decided to escalate it. Let that be a lesson to you. All right? Thunderbird, you a mess. I don't believe in wearing any clothes in public, man. Then you go starting something. Why you gonna be Michael Jackson? You want to be starting something. You gotta be starting something. That is hilarious. Oh my goodness. All right, I had to get. Hey, on a lighter note, when I have something light, I have to throw it out there. You know, it kind of like lessens the blow a little bit. All right, so we have another situation here now. We're talking about the privatization of global chaos. All right, and according to Stephen Karkanova over at the Strategic Culture Foundation, a recent offhand remark by one of America's oligarchs points towards a new methodology for undermining what is left of international law and order. Speaking in earnest or in jest, nobody really knows, but smart money would certainly bet on the former. When admonished by the Bolivian coup that toppled President Evo Morales last year wasn't in the best interest of the Bolivian people, Elon Musk, the Tesla electronic car magnate, brazenly tweeted, "We will coup whoever we want. Deal with it." Wow. There is, of course, room for plausible deniability here because Musk was responding to another tweet calling the U.S. government, not Musk directly, to account for organizing a coup against Evo Morales in Bolivia so you could obtain the lithium there. Did you hear that? The U.S. government was responsible for organizing a coup against Evo Morales in Bolivia so that the United States could obtain the lithium. Wow. 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 Musk says response could theoretically be interpreted as not a personal confession of responsibility for the dastardly deed, but rather a good citizen's loyal expression of support for his country's foreign policy. Charitably speaking, such a reading is possible, but speaking more realistically, Musk, although associated in the public mind with the pioneering electronic car design, did in fact have a very vital interest in the Bolivian regime change operation. Electric cars, to put it very simply, run on lithium batteries, and Bolivia just happens to be a major supplier of that ore. No lithium, no Tesla, or any other electronic vehicles. To fill in some more blanks, it also happens that just weeks before the coup in November of 2019, around the same time as the coronavirus was making its way into the world, President Morales issued a decree essentially nationalizing Bolivia's mineral wealth, including lithium deposits. Bolivia watchers, of course, could see it coming for some time. The politically artless president disclosed his audacious game plan to empower the Bolivian people to enjoy the benefits of their country's wealth 2 years before. Just read and weep at this naivete. Quote, Bolivian President Evo Morales sees a prosperous future for his currently impoverished South American nation, pinning his hopes on the rapid rise in the global price of his valuable resource. We will develop a huge lithium industry. Over $800 million have already been made available, Morales told the German DPA news agency, unquote. This is sad. That is sad. So the man wants to better his nation, and basically he gets assassinated. Basically, if you think about it, the American people, your government assassinates people's character, and then when that doesn't work, they assassinate them. All right, they topple the regimes. So that's what happened. All right, he tried to pull a Gaddafi and bless all of his people with financial security, and the Illuminati, the global banking cartel says, I don't think so. We taking it. And that's what happened. They just take it. Now you know why the US has like 3,000 military bases all over the country, because they have pretty much taken everybody's natural resources, and in order to maintain that, you got to maintain a troop presence in that area. Everywhere we have a military base is because of some natural resource. What's up with that? What's up with that? So the Jackals were put on notice as early as 2017. Morales' sins were numerous enough, and he would have been targeted for removal anyway, even if he had not antagonized the lithium cartel by announcing the ambitious project to extract a fair price from it. But now we have at least established that Elon Musk and his local agents highly likely were not neutral observers while preparations for the coup were being conducted. Musk may have made his "we can coup whoever we want" remark as a loyal citizen who supports his country's hemispheric interests, but clearly he also had significant financial interests of his own in this controversy. Indeed, the contest between the individual by the name of Elon Musk and the country of Bolivia was anything but the level playing field that noble U.S. diplomacy insisted on in Bosnia while their local team was losing. Musk's personal worth of $68 billion contrasts rather conspicuously with Bolivia's GNP of $40.58 billion in 2019. Quite simply, the American oligarch could buy Bolivia and have plenty of change left over. But why buy it if you can far more cheaply organize a coup, put your people in charge, and then own it, including the lithium? That is a much more sensible business plan. See, I told you that Elon Musk was part of the financial Illuminati, and he was a good little boy. He did what he was supposed to do during the coronavirus lockdowns, and then he got blessed with a higher stock price. That's what happens when you do what you're told. They bless you. Get out of line, and you go missing, like missing 411. They're saying, yeah, man. Last time we seen him, he went hiking in Yellowstone National Park. And we didn't find we found his body in Alaska. That's how they do. President Morales' cheeky pipe dream of Bolivia's enormous reserves, providing a major windfall for the country, allowing it to generate wealth and spread prosperity among its destitute population, was clearly a non-starter in some influential circles, and last year's fascist coup at least temporarily put an end to it. The genuine possibility that a very rich man with a huge interest had concentrated his resources to overthrow the legitimate government of a member state of the United Nations and got away with it, even boasting retrospectively of his accomplishment, should be shocking. The levity with which Musk's revealing remark was met fully reflects the decay of the international legal system, or to be more precise, it shows the seemingly complete evaporation of what Ivan Ilyin called the legal consciousness, embodying the fundamental norm that limit sociopathic and predatory behavior at all levels between states and between individuals, as well as between enormously powerful individuals and comparatively weak states, as in the Bolivian example that we are citing. All right, so you're looking at the end of the international law. We're turning into the wild, wild west, people. The wild, wild west. The Bolivian example, however, is far from isolated. The purposeful substitution in the conduct of foreign policy of private individuals for government personnel goes back at least to the Croatian Operation Storm in August of 1995. That was managed from the shadows by the MPRI, Military Professional Resources, Inc., ostensibly a Washington-based private association of retired military officers renting their experience and expertise, including doctrinal advice, scenario planning, and U.S. government satellite agent intelligence. To NATO's strategic allies in distress, the 1995 MPRI arranged Croatian military assault, orchestrated with full Pentagon and White House plausible deniability, resulted in thousands of Serb civilian casualties and the expulsion of 250,000 Serb inhabitants from the UN-protected Crimea region. For a more recent illustration of the same principle at work, look no further than the May 2020 privately subcontracted invasion of Venezuela, with the goal of physically seizing its leadership and replacing it with puppets clustered around the self-proclaimed president Juan Guaido. Are we looking at a trend or a new normal, to borrow a phrase from the current pandemic vocabulary, in the domain of international relations? It would appear so. The trailblazers of this new dispensation are wealthy oligarchs with lethal political agendas that go far beyond activities arguably excusable for members of their class, such as amassing more wealth. Coming immediately to mind are Soros and Gates. All right, with Soros, we're talking about a color revolution. With Bill Gates, we're talking about global imposition of unsafe vaccines and population reduction. has admitted participation in the Bolivian coup, now outed another philanthropist, Elon Musk, whose benefactors we must in future also suffer and dread. Again, there it is. All right, there it is. I'm just saying, people, you gotta really do the knowledge to this stuff. All right, you gotta really do the knowledge. You gotta really look into it. All right. And here's another thing too, and it's working. See, people don't want. The truth can be saddening and very difficult for people, so they turn their brains off so they don't have to process the information because it's too painful. And I get it. I get it. I get it. No, seriously, I get it. I really do. It's painful. I know. I know. It is very painful. You have to face, because then you're like, well, so what do we do? That hurts, man. I know. I get it. What do we do? I know. But how about the media's misinformation campaign about effective COVID treatment? On July 31st, in a column ostensibly dealing with healthcare misinformation, the Washington Post media critic Margaret Sullivan opened by lambasting fringe doctors spouting dangerous falsehoods about the hydrochloroquine as a COVID-19 wonder cure when combined with zinc and something else. I forget what it was. Actually, it was Sullivan who was spouting dangerous falsehoods about this drug, something the Washington Post and much of the rest of the media have been doing since for months. On May 15th, the Post offered a stark warning to any Americans who may have taken hope in a possible therapy for COVID-19. In the newspaper's telling, there was nothing unambiguous about the science or the politics of hydrochloroquine. Drug promoted by Trump as coronavirus game changer, increasingly linked to deaths, blared the headline. Written by 3 Post staff writers, the story asserted that the effectiveness of hydrochloroquine is in treating COVID-19 is scant and that the drug is inherently unsafe. This claim, however, is medical heresy and nonsense, complete foolishness. Biased against the use of hydrochloroquine for COVID-19, and the Washington Post is hardly alone, the paper described an April 21st, 2020 drug study on U.S. Veterans Affairs patients hospitalized with the illness. It found a high death rate in patients taking the drug, hydrochloroquine, but this was a flawed study with a small sample. The main flaw being that the drug was given to the sickest patients who were already dying because of their age and severe pre-existing conditions. The study was quickly debunked. It had been posted on a non-peer-reviewed medical archive that specifically warns that studies posted on its website should not be reported in the media as established information. That didn't matter. Yet the Post and countless other news outlets did just the opposite, making repeated claims that hydrochloroquine was ineffective and caused serious cardiac problems. Nowhere was there any mention of the fact that COVID-19 damages the heart during infection, sometimes causing irregular and sometimes fatal heart rhythms in patients not taking the drug. To a media unrelentingly hostile to Donald Trump, this meant that the president could be portrayed as recklessly promoting the use of a dangerous drug, ignoring the refutations of the VA study. In its May 15th article, the Washington Post cited a Brazil study published on April the 24th in which a COVID trial using chloroquine, a related but different drug than hydrochloroquine, was stopped because 11 patients treated with it died. The reporters never mentioned another problem with that study. The Brazilian doctors were giving their patients lethal cumulative doses of the drug. On and on it has gone since then, in a circle of self-reinforcing commentary, following the news that Trump was taking the drug himself, opinion host on cable news channels launched continual attacks on both hydrochloroquine and the president. "This will kill you," Fox News Channel Neil Cavuto exclaimed. The president of the United States just acknowledged that he is taking hydrochloroquine, a drug that was meant really to treat malaria and lupus. Washington Post reporters Arena Shah and Laurie McKinley were back again on May 22nd with a new article shouting out the new supposed news. Anti-malaria drug touted by President Trump is linked to increased risk of death in coronavirus patients, study says. The media uproar this time was based on a large study just published in The Lancet. There was just one problem. The Lancet paper was fraudulent, and it was quickly retracted. However, the damage from the biased media was done, and it was long-lasting. Continuing patient enrollment needed for early use, clinical trials of hydrochloroquine dried up within a week. Patients were afraid to take the drug. Doctors became afraid to prescribe it. Pharmacies refused to fill the prescriptions. And in a rush of incompetent analysis and non-existent senior leadership, the FDA revoked its emergency use authorization for the drug. So what is the real story on hydrochloroquine? Here briefly is what we do know. When the COVID-19 scam pandemic began, a search was made for suitable antiviral therapies to use as treatment until a vaccine could be produced. One drug, hydrochloroquine, was found to be the most effective and safe for use against the virus. Federal funds were used for clinical trials of it, but there was no guidance from Dr. Anthony Fauci or the NIH treatment guidelines panel on what role the drug would play in the national pandemic response. Let it be known, NIH is also a corrupt organization, and an entire documentary could be done on that. Fauci seemed to be unaware that there was a national pandemic plan for respiratory viruses. Following a careful regimen developed by the doctors in France, some knowledgeable practicing U.S. physicians began prescribing hydrochloroquine to patients still in the early phase of COVID infection. Its effects seemed dramatic. Patients still became sick, but for the most part, they avoided hospitalization. In contrast, in an era the NIH-funded studies somehow became focused on giving hydrochloroquine to late-presenting hospitalized patients. This was in spite of the fact that unlike the drug's early use in ambulatory patients, there was no real data to support the drug's use in more severe hospitalized patients. By April, it was clear that roughly 7 days from the time of its first onset of symptoms, a COVID-19 infection could sometimes progress into a more radical late phase of severe disease with inflammation of the blood vessels in the body and immune system overreactions. Many patients developed blood clots in their lungs and needed mechanical ventilation. Some needed kidney dialysis. In light of this pathological carnage, no antiviral drug could be expected to show much of an effect during this severe second stage of COVID. On April the 6th, 2020, an international team of medical experts published an extensive study of hydrochloroquine in more than 130,000 patients with connective tissue disorders. They reaffirmed that hydrochloroquine was a safe drug with no serious side effects. The drug could safely be given to pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers. Consequently, countries such as China, Turkey, South Korea, India, Morocco, Algeria, and others began to use hydrochloroquine widely and early in their national pandemic response. Doctors overseas were safely prescribing the drug based on clinical signs and symptoms because widespread testing was not available. However, the NIH promoted a much different strategy for the United States, the Fauci strategy. was to keep early infected patients quarantined at home without treatment until they developed a shortness of breath and had to be admitted to a hospital. Then they would be given hydrochloroquine. The Food and Drug Administration closely agreed to this doctrine, and it stated in its hydrochloroquine emergency use authorization that hospitalized patients were likely to have a greater prospect of benefit compared to ambulatory patients with mild illness. In reality, just the opposite was true. This was a tragic mistake by Fauci and FDA Commissioner Dr. Stephen Hahn, and it was a mistake that could cost the lives of thousands of Americans in days to come. That's why both Dr. Anthony Fauci and the FDA Commissioner both need to be fired, because they're medical practitioner doctors, and they don't know what they're doing. They're corrupt and crooked, and therefore they should be taken away. They should be held accountable and responsible. All right? Say what you will, but if this was North Korea or China, both of them would have been executed already. At the same time, accumulating data showed remarkable results, and the hydrochloroquine were given to patients early during a 7-day window from the time of first symptom onset. If given during this window, most infections did not progress into the severe, lethal second stage of the disease. Patients still got sick, but they avoided hospitalization or the latter transferred to an intensive care unit. In mid-April, a high-level memo was sent to the FDA alerting them to the fact that the best use for hydrochloroquine was for its early use in still ambulatory COVID patients. These patients were quarantined at home, but were not short of breath and did not yet require supplemental oxygen and hospitalization. Failing to understand that COVID-19 could be a two-stage disease process, the FDA ignored the memo, and as previously mentioned, it withdrew its EUA for hydrochloroquine based on flawed studies and clinical trials that were applicable only to late-stage COVID patients. What have we been talking about with flawed models and flawed studies on here on this channel? I've been telling you guys, man. Failing to understand that COVID-19 could be a two-stage disease process, the FDA ignored the memo. By now, however, some countries had already implemented early aggressive outpatient community treatment with hydrochloroquine, and within weeks were able to minimize their COVID deaths and bring their national pandemic under some degree of control. In countries such as Great Britain and the United States, where the Fauci-Hahn strategy was followed, there was a much higher death rate and an ever-increasing number of cases. COVID patients in the U.S. will continue to be quarantined at home and left untreated until they develop shortness of breath. Then they will be admitted to the hospital and given hydrochloroquine outside the narrow window for the drug's maximum effectiveness. In further contrast, countries that started out with the Fauci-Hahn doctrine and then later shifted their policy towards aggressive outpatient hydrochloroquine use after a brief lag period also saw a stunning rapid reduction in COVID mortality and hospitalization admissions. There you go, in a nutshell. Boom, bam, done. This is where you live, ladies and gentlemen, and you still trust your government? Really? Really? Hey, that's on y'all, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know when people are going to start opening their eyes, man. I really don't. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take. In closing, blockchain is offering global governments a serious alternative to a strained financial system, according to Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. He says that cryptocurrency advocates have long been keen to point to the weakness of fiat currency. Now, an uncertain world rocked by a global health crisis and geopolitical flare-ups is bringing them into dialogue with the mainstream more than ever. In a tweet thread published on August the 3rd, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse engaged with a recent article in Bloomberg, which had surveyed the gamut of potential alternatives to the dollar as the world reserve currency. The article spanned gold, several major fiat currencies, the yen, won, and euro, the special drawing rights issued by the IMF, and ended with cryptocurrencies. Majority of governments are looking seriously at blockchain. Garlinghouse said the momentum behind digital currencies on the cusp of the 2020s was a question of trust in the financial system at the end of the day. As global populations continue to lose confidence in fiat currencies, as we're seeing with the USD, they will choose to diversify. Our future global financial system will do the same, he urged. His argument held a line close to the Fundstrat's Tom Lee, who had told Bloomberg that trust is really getting broken in the traditional financial system. That's the theme. The less you trust you have in the dollar, the more you want alternatives. Against this backdrop of economic upheaval, cracks in the post-1989 geopolitical order and strains to global trade and investment, Garlinghouse argued that the intrinsic benefits of cryptocurrencies are more apparent than ever before, end quote. A year ago, many decried crypto as a scam, and now a majority of governments are looking seriously at blockchain. It addresses frictions, i.e. settlement, transparency, etc., that were assumed very hard to solve before. Crypto is up 80%, while USD is down 3% year to date. China's development of a central bank digital currency is the key example of the rising power's turn to innovative technologies to raise its game in the new century's geopolitical, monetary, and technological contests. What about the dollar strains? The scammed COVID-19 pandemic economic crisis began bullishly for the US dollar, with investors fleeing to its refuge early on, spurring an exceptional 9% rally. But this familiar pattern has been upended as the crisis wears on. July was the greenback's worst month in a decade. Its recent dip reflects mounting diplomatic tensions between the US and China, and the uneasy settlement that the dollar's dominance represents is a tumultuous and multipolar world thrown into sharp relief by the pandemic. Analysts, as Garlinghouse notes, all agree that we're unlikely to see immediate demise of dollar hegemony. The dollar's position as the backbone of global financial infrastructure isn't going to disappear in favor of gold or the yuan or crypto or any other asset anytime soon, Garlinghouse wrote. But as it is weaker today, yes, it is weaker today. The United States' faltering response to the public health crisis and internal politics polarization have arguably contributed to a loss in its soft power, and investors in the U.S. bond market appear to be pricing in a disappointing U.S. economic recovery. Well, the blinders are coming off for some people. The question is, what about everyone else? Are people really waking up? Are they really going to get it before it's too late? What's up, Doc? So all I'm saying is, people, we need to really be mindful of what is really going on, and don't be taken aback by what you see and hear, because it's just facts, man. These are facts. This is what's coming on. This is what's coming out. This is what's going on, man. So that being said, that's it. I gotta get ready now for the live trading joint. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna knock that out, and then we're just gonna keep it pushing, people. We're gonna keep it pushing. You know what it is. Smash that like button. All right, and go to PulseWaveTrading.com so you can break some bread with us, man. Come and break some bread with us, okay? Make this money. Learn how to build an income stream for yourself, because you're going to need it, man, because a tidal wave of foolishness is coming, and you don't want to be nowhere near it, all right? You don't want to succumb to it, all right? I say that with much love. You guys need to protect yourselves and your family, man. All right. So with that being said, remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. Let's head on over to this live trading doodad for all of our subscribers. And yes, it'll be recorded, so if you can't attend, you'll be able to do so and listen to it, later on at your earliest convenience. And with that being said, I'll holler at you guys for the end of the day report. Everyone else, I'll see ya over at the live trading. Peace.